Now don't get me wrong, it's going to be tough for Michael Scott to win a UFC championship in Brazil against a seemingly dominant Brazilian champion in Alexandre Pantoja. But the question that I'm going to ask and try to answer today is, how can Michael Scott, aka Steve Erceg, win a UFC championship this weekend at UFC 301? I'm sure a lot of people had a similar reaction to me when I heard that this title shot was announced for Steve Erceg. And that reaction is, what? Steve Erceg just won his third fight in the UFC in impressive fashion, a knockout win over Matt Schnell, who is a guy who has been around the flyweight division for a while, but he has been finished a few times. A knockout win over Matt Schnell, impressive, but when it comes to a title contender, that's not really what stamps you as, oh, you finish Matt Schnell, you're fighting for the belt. That's really not how it goes. They gifted him the title shot, I think, circumstantially, because Pantoja has beaten the top, four guys. Let me take a look. Pantoja's not only beaten the top four guys, he's beaten them multiple times. He's beaten Royval, he's beaten Moreno. I think has he beaten Kai Kara-France? I'm not sure. There's something going on with Albazi. No one else was available to fight. Alex Perez was coming off of a loss. He obviously got a big win in the main event, and I think they're trying to just get new flyweight contenders. And Muhammad Mokaev's win over Alex Perez. Actually, I'm seeing this just now. It's Tuesday. Alex Perez moved above Muhammad Mokaev in the rankings, even though Muhammad Mokaev just beat him. That kind of talks about the general outlook on the performance that Mokaev had against Perez. It was a close fight and it wasn't too convincing. So if Mokaev would have convincingly submitted Perez, then he probably would have gotten the title shot. But as you go down the list, it's like Manel Kape, Mateus Nicolau obviously coming off of a loss, Tim Elliott, no, Steve Erceg. And that was the only one that they could get for a fight. And Pantoja, they needed a headliner for Brazil, Brazilian champion, and they got it. Alexandre Pantoja, Steve Erceg. So it was an initial surprise for sure when you heard the announcement. 3 fights in, a finish off of Matt Schnell. That doesn't usually get you a title shot, but here we are. Can Erceg beat Pantoja? The biggest thing that is in Erceg's way, I feel like, is Pantoja's toughness. Pantoja has never been finished in his career. Fought amazing guys, obviously. The best of the best in the flyweight division. Hardest hitter, Davison Figueiredo, hit him with his biggest shots. And although dropping him, I think 1 or 2 times, Figueiredo couldn't finish him. Moreno hit him a lot. Super tough. Pantoja is hittable though. He does get hit in his fights. So will Erceg be able to hit him enough and hard enough to finish him? I feel like that's going to be a very difficult task because Pantoja's just never shown that ability to be finished almost. He's just so incredibly tough and he walks through anything and he has a iron will and he's willing to get in the pocket with you in exchange and he's not afraid to get hit. I think that's a big part of it too, is his mentality going in there. That helps his chin. And he's just I'm getting to this guy no matter what. I'll go through the fire, I'll get hit. And ultimately he wants to grapple. And I think in this fight he's going to be quick in terms of just blitzing him immediately. And he's been doing that in his recent fights, just blitzing heavy with big, multiple right hands, just getting in the pocket immediately and going. I think this fight will be no different. Pantoja, against the number 10 ranked guy, probably wants to get him out of there really quick, look really impressive and move on and have another fight soon. The question is, can Steve Erceg pull it off? Can he land a KO punch, or can he just win the fight and outpoint Pantoja? Because most of Erceg's finishes have come by submission, and it's going to be hard for me at least to see Erceg getting a submission win over Pantoja unless Pantoja gets severely hurt and then Erceg hops on something quickly. But the only 2 knockout wins that Erceg has are via that left hook. He loves that left hook so much, and he throws it on the counter, he throws it on the lead. And Pantoja throws his right hand a lot. Like he starts his combination sometimes with just his right hand and then doubles it up. He throws it a lot, but he generally does a good job at tucking his chin under that right hand. There are times where when he jabs, he'll like drop his right hand big to throw like a looping right hand, and in those exchanges is where Erceg could start to find his left hook. But Erceg's going to be throwing his left hook early and often, and I feel like Pantoja's camp at ATT is going to know this, and they're going to recognize this. And if Pantoja can bait out that left hook and duck under it and initiate clinches from there, shoot takedowns, whatever it may be, I think that would be a very good game plan from Team Pantoja, drawing out his best weapon and his favorite weapon and capitalizing on his willingness to throw it and like the frequency in which he throws it, which is a lot. So having a couple of reactions based on that left hook, like even pulling back, which is not really a Pantoja thing to do, but pulling back from the left hook and then going, but just counters to get to where you want the fight to go from that left hook, whether it is ducking under it, whether it is just kind of crowding it and like getting really close to where the left hook becomes like a headlock, and Pantoja's just in that space and has a body lock and can get to where he is best in taking the back, getting the takedown, and finishing from the back. And especially with Erceg coming off of that knockout win of Match Now with that left hook, I feel like he's going to have a lot of confidence in it, and he's going to want to throw it a lot, thinking like this is my punch, and rightfully so. His 2 knockout wins have been really nice with that left hook. But I think that confidence and favoring it heavily might get him in trouble if Pantoja's team and Pantoja himself have equipped counters for that to get to where he wants to get to. And Erceg isn't just a left hook. He has tight jabs, he's got tight straight shots, and those shots will work really well against Pantoja because he is kind of just always forward and squared off in his stance pretty heavily, and he guards like with his hands up, and those 4-ounce gloves can slip through. That's what Moreno was hitting him with a lot, like early in the fight, just straight shots down the middle, and they were just going through. And Figueiredo hit him with a lot of straight shots as well. The high guard of Pantoja isn't unbreakable. Like when he gets in that pocket and he just wants to cover up, shots will slip through. So Erceg's tight boxing there will be really good, but he'll have to fend off that constant pressure from Pantoja. And if Erceg can survive on the ground for a little bit, I could see it getting better for him, because Pantoja does have rounds where he looks really tired, but then he'll bounce back in the next round and be okay and have enough energy to get the fight where he needs to get it to. But at times in the Royval fight, he looked just exhausted. And if Erceg can survive on the ground, if it does end up getting there, then he can look to capitalize on maybe some of that tiredness, and going to the body is never a bad idea with someone who does tend to get tired, and just people in general going to the body. Very underrated, but digging to the body with boxing combinations. He likes going left hook to the body. I think that's a close shot, and he has to get close to do that. He probably has to put a combination in front of his punches to get to that left hook to the body. And it can also work as like an underhook if Pantoja looks to shoot on that. But takedown defense, patience, and surviving on the ground are 3 things that Erceg really needs in order to have any chance in this fight. But if I'm making like a pick right now, I think it's a little bit too early in the day for Steve Erceg. Yes, he's looked impressive in his 3 UFC fights, especially in the last one, but I think Pantoja is so tough and his will is so strong, and he will get to those grappling exchanges, and when it gets on the ground, he's one of the best at taking the back and finishing from the back, and just all around jiu-jitsu player in general. Pantoja is phenomenal. So I think it might be too soon for Steve Erceg, aka Michael Scott. So my answer to the question of how can Michael Scott become UFC champion, I think it's gotta be, like I said, patience, surviving on the ground, and sharp boxing, going to the body, things like that can help him, but I think it's going to be a very, very tough task. So there will not be an office member, there will not be an office cast member winning a UFC belt this Saturday. If I had to put my money on it, I would say no. Maybe Jim Halpert will get it later in the middleweight division because it's pretty shallow there, so maybe he could get in there and work his way to the top. Alright, I don't know what I'm saying. Thank you for watching. If you made it to the end of the video, I appreciate you, and peace.